It was an elaborate ceremony. Some 200 cabinet members, lawmakers and executives surrounding US President Donald Trump as he described a trade deal with China as historic.
Today we take a momentous step, one that has never been taken before with China, toward a future of fair and reciprocal trade as we sign phase one of the historic trade deal between the United States and China. Together we are righting the wrongs of the past and delivering a future of economic justice and security for American workers, farmers, and families.
Sentiments shared by China's chief trade negotiator.
China and the United States, with the larger picture in mind, have taken a serious approach to our differences and worked to manage them appropriately, reaching the Phase 1 trade agreement. It is good for China, for the United States and the world.
Liu He says US purchases will be made according to Chinese market demand, and the agreement won't affect trade with other countries. But some believe Beijing has promised more than it's able to deliver.
This looks to me a very big concession on China's side, and I genuinely don't see how China can fulfill its commitment of $200 billion more of purchase from the U.S. without increasing its fiscal subsidies to domestic producers and manufacturers dramatically. And if China, along the way of these 2 years, actually cannot fulfill some of the commitment, and then we're expecting to see a collapse of the Phase 1 deal.
Many problems in the US-China relationship remain unresolved.
I don't think that it achieves the fundamental structural changes that are going to need to happen for the U.S. tech sector in particular to really feel comfortable.
In the White House, both sides celebrated the signing of an uneasy truce rather than an end to the trade war. Katrina, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Well, earlier I spoke to Anna Tangen, who's an advisor to the Chinese government, and he also says the trade deal is a fragile truce.
It seems that Donald Trump has traded big numbers, which will help him, he hopes, in the election, and also some slogans. This idea of the snapback, that if something they don't like isn't resolved, that somehow that they can take measures against China without China doing anything. Unfortunately, the truth is that if China doesn't like what the U.S. is doing, they can just simply leave the agreement. So I think there's a truce, but it's certainly not a final step. I think you're going to see an impasse towards the end of the year. And then it comes down to who's going to blink. I mean, Donald Trump has his name, his fingerprints all over this deal. He is going to be trumpeting it on the campaign trail as one of the promises kept. And the fact is that if he pushes too hard and China doesn't follow through and they leave the deal, it makes Donald Trump look less effective, less the deal maker, less the strong man that he likes to portray himself at. So it's a very, very difficult chemistry at this point. Remember that the election will be in November. And there will still be time in between when there theoretically could be orders made. So at this point, people are kind of watching and seeing.